they pre-selected somebody before me, but I kept beating him. When you win a medal, your life flashes, all the hard work, everybody telling you you're never going to do it. Everything comes into one picture. They said, don't go in the opening ceremony because you're fighting 2 or 3 days afterwards and it's tiring. I went, I'm going to the opening ceremony. It's the Olympic Games. I'm going. I don't care. I don't want you to fight. But if you get through the first match, then I'll be very, very impressed. I said, hey, just pump me whatever you can. I'm fighting regardless.
I am Jordan Rushworth, host of the Athlete Sit Down with Sport Endorse, where we chat to inspiring athletes to hear their unique journey into the world of sports. Sport Endorse are a global leader in connecting brands with the ideal athlete to forge powerful partnerships and increase exposure for both sides alike. With access to over 5,000 athletes across 90 different disciplines, Sport Endorse is your go-to platform to find a perfect athlete fit for your social media campaign, brand ambassador role, or keynote speaking engagement. Joining me on today's podcast is Olympic judo medalist turned contemporary abstract artist, from winning a bronze medal at the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics to retirement and successful career in coaching, and now an incredible artist. It is the inspiring Neil Eckersley. Neil, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Enjoying this spell of good weather. So no complaints this side.
Yeah, the weather's great at the moment. Probably turn horrible when we get to the weekend, but what can you do?
Live in the moment, live for today. So today is good.
Yeah. So I wanted to sort of start with discussing before judo, sort of maybe your experience as a professional martial artist. So tell us about your story and how you originally got into judo.
Well, I started at a very, very early age. I was 9 when I first walked onto the tatami. Tatami's Japanese word for mat, when I walked onto the mat. But I had sort of issues before that. It took a while for them to diagnose I've got dyslexia. It took a while. When I first went to university, I was diagnosed dyslexia, and that was like 24. So before that, they didn't really sort of have a diagnosis for dyslexia. They just labelled you as a naughty kid. So I wasn't mischievous. I was just, part of dyslexia, there is ADHD as well. So they didn't really understand it. So I really, really struggled in school and in class and tried to engage and tried to concentrate. And by chance, I happened to go to a local judo club in Salford, in Walking in Salford, because they were doing taster sessions for the summer holidays. And I was convinced to go to the taster session. And to be honest with you, that was the age of 9, and I'm still involved in judo to this day.
When did you know you could make a career out of judo?
Difficult to make. You don't really make a career in judo. It's more of it's like everything else. It's always the first impression from the coach. And they were amazing. Obviously, I came with a bungle of issues and a sort of a bad kid at school, but that didn't seem to matter in the judo class, and they treated me with a little bit of respect, and that seemed to work. So it wasn't really about having a career. Something in my DNA just thought this was the right sport for me. Okay.
That's sort of what you said there, is you don't really make a career. It sort of links into it. So like, what was the support like back then as a sort of professional martial artist?
Well, I continued on. I was winning medals here. So I was hitting the right milestones. I was winning the national championships and the regional championships, and I got an international flag when I was sort of junior flag when I was about 17 or 18. So I was hitting all the right sort of pointers to realise I was going in the right direction. But I basically left school with a few qualifications and trained full time on my own. I mean, there was no funding. I think my mum and dad provided me with a little bit of an income, but they're just working class. My dad was hard working. I think he took on another job to support me during the early stages. So initially there was no financial support. The only time I got financial support is when I started to win medals and pick up some funding from Sport England. But that was when I was 17 or 18, when I won, I think I won a bronze medal in the European Junior Championships. And then it opened up to a bit of funding, but it's not life-changing amounts of money.
Yeah. Well, I've never sort of been involved in sort of judo or martial arts of any kind. So I know there's sort of a belt system involved. How long does it take you? I'm guessing you're a black belt.
I'm above a black belt now. I'm a seventh.
Okay, so what is there above a black belt?
So there's 5 degrees of a black belt. So first dan, everybody knows the black belt. That's called the first dan. That's the first stage. And then it's 5 degrees of a black belt. And then it goes into an honorary grade. So 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th are red and white belts. And then 10th Dan is a red belt. In other words, you go all the way back round again to be a 10th Dan. So I'm currently now a 7th Dan, due for an 8th Dan in August. But it all depends on what you put back into the sport. Once you reach fifth Dan and above, it's all about the honorary grades, if that makes sense. So I currently sit at a 7th Dan.
Okay, and what were you when you obviously you went to the Los Angeles Olympics? What were you at that point?
I think I was a 3rd Dan. So you need a first. As a junior, as a kid, you always wanted to get your black belt. That was the key for everybody. Everybody goes, "Oh, what are you?" I'm a black belt, and all the jokes. And go, "I've got a black belt as well." And, all those jokes. Everybody wants to get to be a first. And for me, it was because I could then fight or compete in senior tournaments. So it wasn't really about sort of getting the black belt, but was great. It just opened up the fact I could fight in senior tournaments.
Okay, so yeah, everyone is 17.
I was 17 when I got my black belt, but I think you have to be 16 and above anyhow.
Okay, so it takes about so senior tournament 16 and above. You got to have your black belt, and I guess that takes around 8 years.
Yeah, and then that takes you into the senior competitions then.
Okay,
and then I kind of forgot about gradings then, because gradings are totally different. You got to do the syllabus, and then you got to grade. I mean, I was more of a competitor. I was more concentrating, putting all my efforts in trying to get qualify for the Olympics, not worry about my grades. But I think I was a 3rd Dan, maybe third Dan when I finished competing, and then I was awarded a 5th Dan, and then a 6th Dan, and then a 7th Dan. So that's how it worked. Was
it always judo, or did you sort of do any other martial arts as well?
No, it was always judo. I tried a little bit of rugby because I'm from a rugby league family from Wigan. So I always tried a little bit of rugby. Football, 2 left feet, seriously. Oh, terrible. But a very, very good runner. So, judo gives you that ability to be like an all-rounder. You can be quite good in other sports, if that makes sense. Because you need a lot of conditioning, really, to be a judo player.
And what has been your sort of biggest challenge as an athlete, and sort of how did you overcome it?
For us, it was making weight, because we have weight categories like boxing. So I was a lightweight, which was 60 kilograms, and my natural weight was about 63 kilograms, and ripped, toned. You know what I mean? So to lose the weight all the time, constantly, was always the biggest challenge. I never worried about my opponents. As long as I did the work, I was always more concerned about making weight correctly. Because if you do it wrong, then you're all over the place and you have a bad event. You've got to do it really, really right. So constantly watching what you eat and how you eat, and well before dietitians became involved in sport, we were working on that.
Is it similar to boxing, whereas you have you weigh a day before, or is it?
No, you weigh on the morning. Big events, the morning of the event.
Okay.
And then they brought in this crazy rule where you can only be not crazy rule, it's actually quite a clever rule, where you can only be 2 kilos. If they can have random weigh-ins during the day. So you have to be 2 kilos below. And that's a good idea, because that then cuts this craziness of people losing 7 or 8 kilos, which is not healthy, really. I mean, I say it was my biggest concern, but I did it right. I wasn't killing myself to make weight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because in boxing you hear about this water starving, and then
you've got if you're going to go to the final of any major tournament, you've got to have five matches. I mean, so you've got to do it right. You know what I mean? You notice when they do it wrong, when judo players have the weight wrong, they're okay the 3rd match and the 1st and 2nd match, but when it starts to get 3rd and 4th and 5th match, they just haven't got that ability to think things through. I think it really, really affects, how you are. It's mainly dehydration for the last part of the, last couple of weeks before the event.
Yeah. And you mentioned the Olympics before. Obviously, I've mentioned it. Was the Olympics always a dream of yours? Was that the main goal?
Yeah. I remember watching Neil Adams, who was a hero of mine, then a teammate, and now a very good friend of mine, and he won a medal in the Moscow Olympics in 1980. And I turned around to my dad and said, I'm going to go to the Olympics. He went, well, yeah, that's good. He said, that's great. It's words are cheap, you know what I mean? But what are you going to do about it? And that's what made me go full-time training. That was it. That's seeing Neil win the medal in the Olympics was what spurred me on to say, right, I'm going to make this. And, I was on my own, and luckily one of my coaches he was a head of sport at Trafford Sports Centre in Manchester, a college, so I could go and train there every day, free facilities. And then eventually, I nagged him that much. Eventually said, you might as well just come and live with my family. So I just lived with him for like a year and a half, 2 years before the full-time training base. Because I travelled to Kendal for full-time training because a coach came from Norway back to the UK. He was a brilliant coach. He was Neil's coach. So it all, you make your own luck, but everything seemed to fit into place. But the first 18 months to 2 years, I was on my own, cycling to training every day and, doing it.
And were you working during this time? You mentioned
no,
that
it's impossible to work, isn't it? No, I was just doing odd jobs, very entrepreneurial. So I was selling bits and bats and bits of this and doing that and washing cars and, just anything to get the money in. But, you don't worry about that. You're living the life, aren't you? I mean, at the end of the day, if you work hard, then the opportunities will come. So it's not all about the money. It's about, putting yourself in a position for the opportunities to come your way.
Yeah. And you won a bronze medal at the 1984 LA Olympics.
Yeah, it was unexpected. They didn't really want to choose me. They pre-selected somebody before me, but I kept beating him. So yeah, eventually they basically said, I know. And they said, but they stuck to the guns. I understand why they did it, but they said basically, we'll take him to the senior Europeans. This was like a couple of months outside the Olympics, and he said, if he gets fifth place, I'm thinking he's never even going to win I'm not going to win my first match because I was still a junior. So this is my first ever senior competition. He said, well, if he gets fifth place and above, we'll take him to the games. And I lost for a bronze and got fifth place, and that's how I went to the games. So life's all about, life's all about taking the, I knew I was going. I knew this was going to happen, because I'd done the work for it. It's about putting yourself in the right place to take those opportunities. So the opportunity was to go to the Europeans and fifth place. They didn't tell me about that. That was a deal between me and that was a deal between the coach and the national coach that if I got fifth place and above, then I would go. And I lost for a bronze and went to the Olympics, and the rest is history. Yeah.
And obviously it might be hard to sort of put it into words, but what is that feeling when you win that Olympic bronze medal?
It is. I mean, the whole process was like going to the games and everything else. It's a strange one because you've got to, when you're there, and you're prepared. You've got to kind of keep a control over everything. You can't allow the event. I've seen this happen so many times. I was national coach, and with young kids, young players, and once they get to the event takes over. You've got to kind of keep a lid on it. So it's very, very sort of got on with it, got the training, got myself in the position. So to qualify and go to the Olympics was hard work. In itself. So actually to go to the games, it just felt right. Okay. But the moment I won the games, if you see any photographs of me, we're a very respectful sport. We're not supposed to show any emotions, but you could just see you could see all the work, everything. When you win a medal, your life flashes, all the hard work, everybody telling you you're never going to do it. Everything comes into one picture when you win the medal. And they never expected me to win the medal because I beat, I told you I got fifth place in the Europeans. The guy who came second in the Europeans is who I beat for the bronze medal, who was a legend in sport. So they never really expected me to win that medal. The coach said fifth place, and fifth place is not bad. Before I went for the bronze, he said fifth place is not bad for the first day. It's a good start to the team. There's no way I was coming away with a fifth place.
Yeah. And you
sounds
mentioned
cocky, but it's not. It's just you got
it's
those opportunities. Might never come again. You've got to take them.
Yeah, it's a mindset, and I'm sure most Olympians that have won a medal, or even ones that haven't, have that mindset because you need that mindset to get to where you've got to. But you mentioned sort of people going to the games and sort of losing their heads and getting caught up in it. What was your experience in LA? Is there any highlights you can give of your time there? Probably, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it was LA for a start, and it was like a party atmosphere from day one. So I'm not involved with as of yet. I'm not involved with Paris as an artist, but there's a chance that I might be involved in LA, and that would be fantastic because that's like a full circle to me. But from day one, it was just like, wow, the Americans took it, and it was just party from day one. You know what I mean? So it's difficult to explain, but I think the opening ceremonies, then you start to realise what they said. Don't go in the opening ceremony because you're fighting 2 or 3 days afterwards, and it's tiring. I went, I'm going to the opening ceremony. It's the Olympic Games. I'm going. I don't care. You know what I mean? I'm fine. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I won't drink that day. I'll just take my time and I'll go to it. When I walked out behind the flag and we went into the whole of my, was almost like I'm not religious, it's almost like a spiritual moment. The whole of my head literally lifted off, and I thought, wow, this is real. When you walk behind the flag, I think that's when you become an Olympian. And then, it's what you take from it from there. Being an Olympian is really important to me as well. That's why I'm doing quite a lot of work. But actually, to walk behind your national flag, and it's just, the atmosphere was phenomenal, really.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you've now been back as a sort of coach, and we'll move on to that in a second. But what is the games like now? Because you mentioned there was no sort of nutritionists back in then. There is now. Is it much more serious, or is it still that party vibe?
It is. It's a lot. We were professional anyhow at the end of the day, but we were kind of pioneering. Now some of the stuff that we were doing is all it's taken on board now. A lot of it's done for the athletes, and I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Not too sure. Sometimes we look at the old guard, look at the young guard and young players now, think that you've got it on a plate, but that's not what it's about. I mean, we were pioneers. Hopefully, that all the hard work that we put in it is made the journey and the path easier for the younger generation. I'm more than happy for that to happen, really.
Yeah, and obviously Paris Olympics are just around the corner. Is there any advice?
It's a month away.
Yeah, exactly. So do you have any advice for athletes sort of preparing to compete and all the nerves and excitement that sort of brings with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think joy. I mean, trust me, joy. If you enjoy every experience, you know what I mean. Do your work. Keep focused. Keep where you need to be, but enjoy it. Don't underestimate how this will affect you in later times. When you now I'm privileged enough to look back on it, and I get more enjoyment looking back at it. When you're actually in the moment, you're there to do a job. But I'm just saying, just enjoy it and take from it as much as you can, because it is an amazing experience. And you don't realise that when you're actually in the Olympic Village and around, it's almost like a family. It's very, very strange feeling. You feel as though I felt. I do quite a lot of work on belonging. I felt I belonged there. That was my tribe, and it's really important that they experience that to the full, really.
Yeah. And sorry, this is just me being curious, but is it sort of really as heavy as they say it is?
In what way?
Well, I obviously every medal that I've ever got isn't.
Yeah. So the medal, the medal's that, yeah. The medals, yeah, they do. They weigh a bit. They do weigh a bit, actually, yeah. But I mean, it was really strange to me. It was like surreal when you sat there. You're 19 and you got a medal around your neck, and next minute you're like, come off the mat, and then we went to drugs testing, and it was really strange because then you could have beers. You know what I mean? And I was all right to give a sample, but the coach said, no, let's have a few beers. So I had a few, and I didn't drink, so I had a couple of beers. Next minute they say, oh, you're going to Hollywood. There's a limousine outside for you because you're going straight onto breakfast television in the morning. Like that was, so they were waking up to me winning the first medal, one of the first medals in the Olympics. And it's just the whole thing is bizarre. It's like, it's a strange experience. And as a young age, what I'm really pleased about is how I kept a lid on all that. Was phenomenal, really. I think that's down to being a working class kid, really, and the amount of work. It doesn't come easy. Winning an Olympic medal in any sport doesn't, but winning an Olympic medal in judo doesn't come easy. You've got to do the work. You know what I mean?
And you said you were still a junior, so you must be pretty mature for your age to be able to handle that.
And then you've got to get up. You can't go too crazy because I was the warm up partner for the guy who fought the next day. So I'm like, got a medal, bin this. And then I'm up at 8 o'clock in the morning on the mat with a guy called Steve Gawthorpe, who just killed me, seriously, because that was his day. He was the guy, take it easy. I said, take it easy on me, Steve. I'm a bit stiff and a bit tired today. He didn't do that at all. He just hammered me. So talk about a grounding. So, wow, next day I'm being thrown around like a rag doll on the mat, warming up the next guy, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
And obviously, so I wanted to move on from the Olympics because obviously you've done a lot since. So sort of post-retirement, you sort of took up coaching. How did you find that transition? Did it sort of feel like...
I did 2 Olympics. So I competed in 88. So I was team captain for 88, which was a great experience as well. And then I spent some time out. I went working for my sponsor in engineering. So I went from literally arriving back from the games on Friday and starting the job on Monday morning in the civil engineering. which guys didn't care who you were or what you were doing. They just wanted the job to do. So it's like, whoa, what a transition. Because I felt I needed some time in the real world. I think always wanted to go into coaching, but I felt I needed some time in the real world. And lucky, an opportunity came to work for my sponsor, and I worked for him for 5 years. Then I went back to sort of college and university to get a diploma in sports coaching. And then I was kind of tapping in slowly, getting back into coaching.
Are you a brand seeking an influencer to enhance trust and visibility with your audience? Or are you an elite athlete eager to feature in advertisements or promote products on social media? We're a unique platform connecting top-tier athletes with brands for impactful partnerships in your area. For brand managers, we simplify dealings with athletes and celebrities. For athletes, we offer opportunities to collaborate with like-minded brands. With a strong global community, Sport Endorse is your gateway to success. www.sportendorse.com, where brands can book a free demo on the platform, while athletes can sign up for free.
I just wanted to mention, you obviously mentioned that you'd been to the AEA, and I sort of glazed over that. How was that a different experience from? It was
different. It was totally different because there was lots of expectation. I was medaling. I was probably in the top 5 in the world, and everything was working. There was an expectation, and that's quite a heavy thing to have. As a 19, as the first Olympics, there's nobody expects you to get a medal. But when you're 23, with rankings the high as I was, there was an expectation to get a medal. And unfortunately, like literally 4 or 5 days, I was bit by a horsefly, a clegger. Do you know what those are? Those horseflies, black flies.
I've heard of them. I've never been bitten, so I can't really.
Yeah, I was bit, and I remember sitting at a restaurant. I noticed this because basically what they do, they bite you and then inject you with anaesthetic, and you don't know what's going on. And I looked, I thought, wow, that's massive. So I clicked it off. And then literally in 2 days, I was wiped out with infection. So my glands were everywhere. And the doctor at the time said, you're not going to like what I'm going to prescribe because it's going to really affect your performance. I'm going to have to put you on very strong antibiotics, penicillin. He said, if you get through the first, I don't want you to fight. But if you get through your first match, then I'll be very, very impressed. I said, hey, just pump me whatever you can. I'm fighting regardless. I'm going to this. I'm going to do it. But luckily, I managed to win 1, 2, and on the third one, I was just wiped out. It's no excuse. I was just unlucky. Well, nobody knows about that. I never used it as an excuse because that's disrespectful to the opponents who beat me. They beat me because they trained. It's not my fault. I got, bit by a horsefly 3 or 4 days before the event.
Very, very unfortunate, I guess.
It is, but you just, it's one of those things, isn't it? You can't let it ruin your life. And you've got to, another thing again, it's about experiencing the Olympics. Even though I didn't get a medal, I was expected to get a medal. It's a fantastic event. I still enjoyed it, the opening ceremony and everything else.
So then, obviously, we mentioned coaching. Did that come naturally to you?
It did, but it did. It did and it didn't. I mean, luckily, I'd gone into engineering and learned quite a lot of managerial skills because I think it would have been the wrong decision to come straight off the mat in the Olympics and then into a coaching role. I think that's missed somewhere. I think coaches, ex-players, national, elite players need to spend some time in the real world really to see what it's about, So I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did that, and an opportunity came to work with the junior men's team. The job came up, and I applied for the job, and luckily, I got the job, and a very, very successful program. Very, very successful. I took it to, the program in play, took it to a different level. We were winning European medals that I would have dreamed of as a kid. My players were winning. And they were eventually going into the seniors and then going into the Olympics as well. So it was a really, really good program. And I think a lot of that is because of the managerial skills that I picked up working for Colin Drake as an engineer and also the judo. So marrying the two together and also, studying for a degree as well in coaching, putting the whole things together made me a better coach.
And was that the most enjoyable part of coaching for you, seeing your sort of students?
Yeah. Definitely. And I speak to a lot of that generation now. I'm still involved with now. They've gone. They always said it was the best time of their lives. He said because we felt as though we were and I'm always a great believer in putting the athlete first. They felt as though the program was for them. It wasn't just me coming in as Olympic medalist and it was all about me. It was what I was really pleased was the fact is I got a lot of joy seeing the players do really well. And it wasn't a matter about some of them didn't win medals, but the performance was better than ever expected. And it's all about the performance with me. A medal is a result of a good performance, but you can have a good performance and not get a medal. You know what I mean? So they all did really, really well, and they continue to do well today.
And then you obviously transitioned into being an artist that you are today. Not the most obvious route. So what inspired it?
Well, remember, I was only because of dyslexic. I was geared to sport and art at school. The only things that kept me in school. Otherwise, I don't know what I'd been up to, but I'd have been up to mischief. Tell you now. So they were the only things. And luckily, I could train. My sports teacher said, you can have these facilities in the afternoon, train during the lunch breaks. And I used to train in the lunch breaks. That's the only thing that kept me in school. And the art teacher, the only thing. So art's always been I've always been drawn to that because of my dyslexia, is how we think, I think. But I lost my older brother, a very, very tragic incident, and I lost my older brother. And I was going really, really downhill with it. And a friend at the time said, was there anything else you were good at school apart from sport? You're good at sport because that's what you got. He said, but was there anything? I said, yeah, I really enjoyed art. And that's how it started. They bought the first easel and the first paints. And I did a painting. It's like a Jackson Pollock painting. It was a drip painting, an American artist who did this drip painting. And I still got that painting today. And the relief I got from doing the painting is what really started me on this art journey.
Yeah, my next question was going to be, do you find it, obviously with your dyslexia, to express yourself through art as opposed to words? But you sort of answered that.
It's very therapeutic. There is a therapeutic side of art, I think. I think there's that. And that's what the first industrial pieces helped me get through that really, really difficult, very, very, very difficult period. But from then on, my older brother was so proud of me now because where we've gone with this is phenomenal. And I put the same mental attitude into being an artist as I did in being an Olympian. It's the same thing for me because I hear the same things. Oh, you're never going to be successful. And I heard that years ago, when the careers teacher said, when I went to the careers teacher and he said, what do you want to do when you leave school? I said, I want to go to the Olympics. And he just laughed. He said, well, not really. With your grades, you need to do that. I said, no, I'm going to the Olympics. He wasn't laughing 4 years later when I was invited back to the school to give out the certificates to all the kids. But I've heard all that before. So to me, it's, using a lot of those skills, a lot of those resilience has helped me through this new path of becoming an artist.
And you're a prominent member of the Art of the Olympians platform. You did the art for Tokyo. How did that come about, and sort of what does that mean to you?
It is. We've been involved with this organisation. It's been going around for a long time, this organisation. And what we've tried to do is get sort of Olympians who are sort of creative in other areas to come underneath to sort of produce work. And they were working separate, but now the IOC have brought this idea underneath the umbrella of the Olympics. So now every Olympic Games, they put a call out to Olympians who are creative to produce a piece of work for the Olympics. So that's how it came to me. So initially we were involved with it, then I had a bit of time out, and then they asked me to be involved in Beijing for the Winter Olympics, which I thought was pretty cool because I'm a Summer Olympic Games Olympian. And it was nice to actually do something for the Winter Games. So that's how it all came about, was they asked me to do it. And I'm not, if you look at my work, it's not sports related stuff. I'm very much cityscapes. And they took a bit of a gamble on that because I said, this is great that you're choosing somebody who doesn't do sports related pieces, because the pieces I did for Beijing weren't sports related. I said, but this is great. I said, because it's not about what I produce as an Olympian, the work, it's actually an Olympian producing this work and open up the doors to more people, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Who else has sort of done this sort of, what other Olympians?
Every Olympic Games now, there will be, I think there's 4 or 5 Olympians who were involved in Paris. I think it's a French. They try to use somebody from the host nation, and then they try to use different types of sport. So I think if you look on the IOC website, I think there's about 7 or 8 of us so far, and then there'll be probably another 3 or 4 to add to that. So there's like a list of who's involved with it, but it's the numbers are not high. There's 6 or 7 of us, maybe 8 up to now.
So that's sort of a big achievement, as well as obviously your Olympic medal.
It is. Yeah, I mean, great. And then they invited me to go to Lausanne and to sign the wall, which is fantastic. You know what I mean? We go to Lausanne, every Olympian signs the wall, and they said, right, we'd like you to sign the wall. And all these people started to come out of the offices going, what are they doing? They said, well, they're here for you. And they do this every time. It's fantastic. Any Olympian goes to the Olympic headquarters in Lausanne, they get them to sign the wall, and all the staff members come out and applaud you. It's just amazing. So to do that, I'm like, wow. And then we did a podcast. So the whole experience was very much like being in the Olympics. The whole experience was phenomenal, from getting the gig in the first place, to doing the work, to producing the work, and then to be invited to go to Lausanne was just ticking so many boxes.
Yeah. And you mentioned you might not be working with the Paris, but you're working with the sort of next Olympics as well.
Well, we're still, we'll still have to put a proposal forward. The proposal I did this time, I understand, because they've got to give other people chances as well. They can't keep using the same artists all the time. But I produced a body of work for this. They said, right, so I put the proposal forward. It never got accepted, but it doesn't mean I didn't do the work. I've done the work. So I've got some pieces now, and there's a piece at the moment I'm working with. It's called Core, which is a core, and that's going down really, really well on social media. And a copy of that's gone to the president of the IOC. That should be arriving in his office in the next couple of days, and we'll just see where it goes from there. I never really plan anything. If it happens, it's fantastic. That's my mindset. I very much live in the moment, do the work, and then everything, all the opportunities seem to come in place. It's not something I think about. I do the work first, and then see what the opportunities come. So I'm not, it doesn't bother me that I'm not in this particular Olympic Games. I'm just pleased that we've got Olympians now in this program, which is really, really good to me.
Yeah. And what's it like being surrounded by sort of like-minded people who obviously both share a passion for sports and art alike?
It is. It's a strange thing, because my first exhibition was at the Judo World Championships, and our president, Manis Viza, started this using art and sport together. So the first one I went to was in the World Championships in Budapest. And I produced 10 pieces of artwork, and we had the exhibition. And then it was really strange, because when the doors opened, all my heroes, judo heroes, came to the exhibition. I thought, there's no pressure here. They're all turned up, and they're all looking at my work. And they basically, top of my head's coming off now. The comments were unbelievable. So to get that, positive response from my peers, first of all, I knew that whatever I produce now, every Olympian seems to like what I do and enjoy and connection to do it. And that's really quite cool as well, because it's nice to see how these paintings, I'm not performing anymore. It's actually the paintings are performing, so I can step back and watch them work. So it's a totally different experience than competing on the mat. But, the enjoyment is unbelievable. The experience is unbelievable. And it's really weird, because we don't say very much, because you don't need to, there's no words needs to be said. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah. No, I do. Well, I don't, because I've sort of never been to an exhibition,
no.
But I get what you're saying.
I know when they go quiet and look at the work, you think, oh no, what's going to happen here? But I think a lot of them are really, really chuffed that I've managed to sort of come out of a judo career now into something else. They're really, really pleased and really supportive that, and it's great. It's great to have an Olympic artist who's a judoka as well. So I represent the sport as well. You know what I mean? I don't just represent me. I represent the sport, because I'm probably the only judoka who is involved in this project. Judoka means judo player. So there's a lot,
Yeah, and it's quite sort of not interesting, but it's unfortunate. A lot of Olympians struggle to sort of make a transition outside of the sport. So it's great you found it and obviously had a lot of success with it. So what are the sort of next steps in your artistic career, apart from the Olympics?
Yeah, it's difficult. Like I said, I very much live in the moment. There's a body of work done. We just recently come back from New York, so there's a huge body of work that I've completed on New York, and that's just started. What I'm looking for is sort of representation from an art gallery, because it's a lot of work to promote work all the time. I don't mind. They'll have to be good, because I do a really good job. So I mean, I'm not just going to hand it over. I'm going to have to make sure that they do well. But I think that's the next stage where we'll go. We'll get gallery representation, which is really, really good, because they know they'll sort of work all that and work in that side. And then we're looking for I like pop-up exhibitions. I don't particularly like working in galleries. I think it's quite stuffy. There's quite barriers for normal people to go into galleries. So I'm looking for sort of unusual places to exhibit the work. The last exhibition was in a church. Before that was underneath a motorway bridge. So we're constantly looking for opportunities and to promote and work with the work. And things are on the go all the time. Really, it's just a matter of waiting for these opportunities to take place.
And what valuable lessons sort of have you learned from your experiences throughout your career, whether that be your judo career, your coaching, or your artistic career, that has also impacted your sort of your personal life?
To me, it's all about the resilience. I mean, my resilience is phenomenal. You know what I mean? And it's all that. What I've learned is you know, you might hear all this noise around you, you know, negative noise around you saying this is never going to have this and that. I mean, what I've learned from it all is if you can listen to the voice inside, and if the voice inside is louder than the voice outside, then you're going to be pretty successful. You need to listen. You're the best person in the best place who knows you and knows what your capabilities are. So listen to that person, because that will get you through a lot.
Yeah. Have you had any sort of role models or influences in your life that sort of got you to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, my father as I got older, I didn't realize how good he was. You know what I mean? He just was very quiet, didn't say very much, and a lot of parents can be very, very pushy. He was never a pushy parent, and I think if I had to choose somebody, I think we just lost him recently because he had dementia, so he's not longer with us anymore. So I'm thinking a lot about him. But what I liked about my dad was he was very, very quiet, but I don't know, his quietness was his strength, if that makes sense. So I think my dad is probably my biggest hero. So.
And sort of looking into the future, what are your expectations for this year? What do you want to achieve, whether this be in your coaching, art, or sort of more personal goals?
Personally, I'm where I am, where I need to be. I'm a professional artist. I've moved back from Norway now, living back in the UK, and that's what I want to be, with the studio set up. So I want to pursue that a little bit more. Like I said, get some gallery representation, new opportunities. But I also quite like, the fact is now that I'm enjoying my judo again, because before, art was kind of released for the judo, but now actually judo is a release for the art. So I'm enjoying that, getting back into working with basic sort of grassroots projects. And we're really good at developing stability and mobility program, which I'm really keen on. And that's going really, really well. So I don't know, I just like the fact is I can dip in and out of things and concentrate fully on the art, because that's going in the right direction. But the fact is I can dip in and out of things is I'm in the right place, and I've got the right mindset. I'm in the right place at this moment for things to happen. It's it's like competing for the Olympics. I've done all the work now. So it's just about waiting for the performance, and the performance is what's coming down the road for me.
You also mentioned to me previously that your wife is an illustrator and you're working on 2 poetry books.
Yeah.
Are they still in the work? When are they coming out?
Yeah, they're published now. One was called it's about conflict and wars. It's quite heavy stuff. And then the second one, which was endorsed by the IOC president, is called Olympians, and I've done the actual illustrations, and I've actually done the poetry as well, and it's phrased, and it's what it's to be Olympian. It's called Olympians, and that's available. That's out there now. So there's 2 books, self-published books, that are available now, and they seem to be going down really well. So, you know what I mean? I wouldn't believe as a street kid from Salford that I've been to 2 Olympics, an Olympic artist, and produced 2 books with dyslexia. It's like, wow, you pinch yourself sometimes, but you just got to keep a lid on it, haven't you?
Well, yeah, you mentioned obviously your father unfortunately died of dementia, and that these were what the poetry books are sort of about. What advice for people going through grief and the hardship that they've gone through? What advice would you give to people?
Well, I'm still going through it, so you know what I mean. But you've got to, seriously, grief is a strange one, and it's about, to me, it's about giving yourself time and not beating yourself up. Be easy on yourself during this particular periods, and take time out to breathe and relax and do everything you possibly can, to make that situation as better, and seek some help. I'm accessing a little bit of help and counselling, which is really, really working for me. If I'm accepting counselling with my background, is anybody can do it. And it's really, really good, because there's people out there who will support you. You're not alone. That's the biggest thing. You're not alone. You can speak to people, and don't worry about, expressing how you feel, because it's really important that you, in the early stages, that you get it out, because if it goes inward, you have a problem.
Yeah, you want to get it out, but also I'm guessing your art is, you need to find a passion as well.
you do. You need to find an outlet for that. And to me, simply, I do a lot of walk therapy. I love going out and walking in the countryside. Just, try not to be stuck in that particular moment. Try and get out really and get in the environment, which is beautiful places. Anybody can walk in a park, go out and do that. But the key thing is, if you're really, really struggling, go and access support, because there's a lot of support out there. I know the NHS get a really bad reputation, but actually they've been fantastic with me.
Yeah. I'll move on to sort of Sport Endorse's Fast Five, the Fast Five questions. So try and answer them as sort of quickly as you can. So if you could be another athlete, who would you be?
Oh, I think I would be something where I'm sitting down, a rower, cyclist.
What is a brand you use that people would be surprised by?
I'm using paint stuff at the moment, but okay. I'm a big fan of Adidas.
Okay. If you were not an athlete, what would you be apart from a painter or a coach?
Oh, I can't. Well, I don't be a painter. Well, with my ability, I won't be a doctor or a lawyer or a solicitor. I think I'd like to have been a teacher.
Okay. What is your favourite movie?
My favourite movie, apart from Scarface, is difficult one.
Scarface.
Scarface is good, but it's very violent. I'm trying to think of a new one to look at. Probably Chariots of Fire. I love that scene where they're running on the beach and the music and everything. That's the one for me, I think.
What is your party trick?
Party trick? I don't know. A party trick is I can draw with both hands. I'm ambidextrous.
Ambidextrous, yeah. My left hand is useless for anything really. And then obviously the question our last guest left was, who is your toughest opponent? Or who was your toughest opponent?
I think the toughest opponent is yourself.
Okay. Or a horsefly.
Don't mess with the horseflies, tell you. Especially Korean horseflies. They're mean. And
what question would you leave for our next guest?
I would leave is if you wanted to be remembered for something as a sports person, what would it be? What would be your legacy?
And what would your answer to that question be?
My legacy would be that I was hardworking, but I also was compassionate and understanding, and I give more to the sport than I took from it.
That's a great answer. Well, Neil, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I think you're an amazing role model, obviously, for dementia, for judo, for everything there. And as you mentioned before, if there's anyone out there that sort of needs the help, make sure that they go and get it. I think that's a great message from the podcast. And yeah, I wish you all the best in maybe the Paris Olympics or the next Olympics for the art, or whatever other challenge you have coming up. So yeah, all of Neil's links will be in the description, so make sure you go to follow him, look at his art. He's amazing. But yeah, as I said, thank you very much.
Check's in the post for that one.
You're welcome. Yeah, I hope it. Hopefully. All right. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching the Athlete Sit Down, brought to you by Sport Endorse. To book any of our athletes featured on our podcast, contact us via our website, www.sportendorse.com, or via our email, hello@sportendorse.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming episodes.